The moment our hands brushed while reaching for the same dumbbell in the crowded downtown Chicago gym, a strange jolt shot through me that I couldn't explain. I yanked my hand back like I'd been burned, my face flushing hot as I mumbled, "Sorry, go ahead." Lauren just laughed softly, her green eyes catching the overhead lights with that easy confidence I'd noticed the first time I walked in 3 months ago. "No big deal, Natalia. Happens to everyone in here. You new to the free weights." At 28, I thought I had my life mapped out. Steady accounting job in the Loop, a one-bedroom apartment I kept spotless, and Sunday mornings at the little non-denominational church 2 blocks from my parents' house back in Indiana. Faith wasn't just something I practiced, it was the air I breathed. My mother still called every week to ask if I'd found a nice Christian man yet, and my older brother, the youth pastor, sent me sermon notes like they were care packages. Dating guys in college had felt safe, expected, even if the spark was never quite there. I told myself that was normal. But that accidental touch lingered on my skin long after I finished my set. Lauren, 32 and the gym's senior trainer, started offering pointers during my sessions. "Elbows in on the row like this," she'd say, her voice calm and professional. Each correction was light, helpful, yet something about the way she moved. Strong shoulders under her black tank top, the small tattoo of a mountain on her wrist, made my pulse skip. We chatted between sets about nothing important at first. Chicago winters, the best protein bars, how the city felt both exciting and lonely after I left my small town. One Thursday evening after a brutal leg workout, she wiped sweat from her forehead and nodded toward the juice bar next door. "You crushed it today. Want to grab a smoothie? My treat for surviving my playlist." I hesitated. My church friends would be at Bible study right now, talking about grace and obedience. But refusing felt rude, and honestly, I was curious. "Sure," I said, grabbing my bag. We sat at a high-top table outside, the late summer air still warm. Lauren talked about growing up in California, how fitness saved her during rough years after college. I shared bits about my family's Sunday dinners and the comfort I found in routine prayers. She listened without interrupting, her smile never turning judgmental. When our smoothies arrived, our fingers brushed again, handing over the cups, and that same confusing warmth flooded my chest. I laughed it off, blaming the endorphins. That night in my quiet apartment, I knelt by my bed the way I had since I was 7. "Lord, keep my heart steady," I whispered. Yet sleep didn't come easily. Lauren's laugh kept echoing. It was just friendship, I told myself. Nothing more. The next week we trained together again, and by the end of the month we were meeting for coffee twice a week. I started looking forward to seeing her more than I cared to admit. My mother called one Sunday after church. "Any nice young men at service?" she asked hopefully. "Not yet, Mom," I answered, the words tasting heavier than usual. Lauren never pushed. She simply showed up, reliable, kind, funny in a dry way that made me snort laugh over oat milk lattes. One evening, walking along the lakefront path after coffee, she pointed out the skyline and said, "Sometimes the city makes you realize how much bigger the world is than the one you grew up in." I nodded, but inside something shifted. The values I'd carried like armor suddenly felt a little tighter. I shook the feeling away and changed the subject to work deadlines. Still, when we said goodbye and our hands touched in a casual wave, the jolt was back, stronger, impossible to ignore. I went home and prayed longer than usual, asking for clarity I wasn't sure I wanted. Weeks turned into a comfortable rhythm. Lauren and I texted daily now, quick memes about bad gym etiquette or photos of ridiculous protein shake flavors. She never asked for more than I offered, and I never offered more than surface-level friendship. But the pull was there, quiet and persistent, like a song I couldn't get out of my head. One Friday she invited me to a low-key outdoor movie in Grant Park. "Just friends, I promise," she texted with a laughing emoji. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before typing back, "Sounds fun." The night was perfect. Blankets on the grass, soft breeze off the lake, strangers laughing around us. We watched an old romantic comedy, sharing popcorn and whispering commentary. When the couple on screen finally kissed, Lauren glanced at me sideways. "Ever had one of those movie-perfect moments?" she asked lightly. I shrugged, keeping my eyes on the screen. "Not really. My dating life's been predictable." She didn't press, but later, walking back to the L, our shoulders bumped and neither of us moved away. The contact felt electric. I told myself it was the cool night air. The next morning at church I sat in the back row, Bible open on my lap, but the pastor's words about God's design for relationships landed differently. My mind kept drifting to Lauren's easy smile, the way she remembered I liked extra cinnamon in my coffee, guilt twisted in my stomach. After service my mother called, excited about a family reunion next month. "You'll bring someone special, right?" she teased. I forced a laugh. "We'll see." Hanging up, I stared at my phone, Lauren's last text still open. "Great movie last night. Same time next week." I typed yes before I could overthink it. Our next workout was tougher than usual. Lauren spotted me on the bench press, her hands steady under the bar. "You've got this," she said, voice low and encouraging. When I racked the weight, our eyes met, and for a split second the gym noise faded. I sat up too fast, dizzy. "Thanks," I muttered, grabbing my water bottle like a shield. Later at the juice bar, she told me a little more about her past. How she'd come out in college and lost a few friends but gained a deeper sense of peace. "It wasn't easy," she said, stirring her smoothie. "But pretending hurt more." I nodded, throat tight, and changed the subject to my latest audit at work. That night I couldn't pray. The words stuck. Instead I paced my apartment, replaying every conversation, every accidental touch. My reflection in the dark window looked like a stranger. I'd always believed love was supposed to fit neatly inside the lines my faith drew. Man and woman, marriage, family. Yet here I was, heart racing over a woman who made me feel seen in a way no one ever had. The next day I skipped our usual coffee, claiming a headache. Lauren replied instantly, "Feel better. Here if you need anything." Her kindness only made the confusion worse. Sunday I drove the 2 hours to Indiana for a surprise visit. My mother hugged me tight, smelling of Sunday roast and familiar perfume. Over coffee she asked about my new gym friend. I kept it vague. My brother pulled me aside later. "You seem distracted, Nat. Everything okay with your walk with God?" His concern was genuine, rooted in love, not judgment. I assured him I was fine, but driving back to Chicago the questions followed me like shadows. Was this friendship testing me? Or was it something I was too afraid to name? I turned the radio up loud, but the silence inside me only grew louder. October brought colder winds and longer workouts. Lauren and I fell into a new routine, early morning sessions before my office hours. She was patient when my form slipped, never frustrated. One rainy Tuesday we finished early and ducked into a tiny bookstore cafe nearby. "Over herbal tea?" she asked gently. "You've been quiet lately." "Work stress." I stared into my cup, the steam blurring my vision. "Not exactly." The words hung there. She waited the way only she could, present, never demanding. I don't know what made me say it. That first day when our hands touched, something felt different. I can't stop thinking about it. My voice cracked. Lauren set her tea down slowly. The cafe noise faded. She looked at me for a long moment, eyes soft. "Natalia, I need to tell you something. I've been carrying this since that exact moment. I fell for you the second our fingers brushed. I've loved you quietly, every workout, every coffee, every late night text. I didn't plan it. I just knew." The room tilted. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Lauren, I can't." I stood so fast my chair scraped loud. Customers glanced over. She stayed seated, voice calm. "I'm not asking you to be anything you're not. I just couldn't keep pretending anymore." I grabbed my coat and bolted into the rain, phone buzzing in my pocket with her texts I couldn't read. I drove straight to the church, even though it was Tuesday. The sanctuary was empty, candles flickering. I dropped to my knees in the front pew, Bible clutched so tight my knuckles whitened. "God, what is this? This isn't me. This can't be me." Tears came hot and fast. The verses I'd memorized since childhood spun in my head. Warnings about unnatural desires, calls to purity. Yet Lauren's confession echoed louder. She hadn't pushed, hadn't demanded. She'd simply been honest, and her honesty had cracked something open inside me I'd spent years sealing shut. My mother called that evening. I let it go to voicemail. Instead I sat on my couch in the dark, replaying every smile, every brush of shoulders, every time her laugh made the world feel lighter. By midnight I'd cried myself dry. I typed a reply to Lauren. "I need space. Please." Her answer came immediately. Take all the time you need. I'm still here. The kindness hurt worse than anger would have. The next 2 weeks I avoided the gym entirely. I threw myself into work, church volunteer shifts, even signed up for a singles Bible study. The guy who sat next to me, Mark, 30, youth leader, was polite, steady, everything I thought I should want. We grabbed lunch after group. He talked about mission trips and future family. I smiled and nodded, but my mind kept drifting to green eyes and a mountain tattoo. When he asked for my number, I gave it, telling myself this was the right path. That night I prayed harder than ever, begging for the confusion to leave. But the emptiness only grew. Lauren's confession had planted a seed, and no amount of denial seemed able to kill it. Thanksgiving approached, and my family insisted I come home. The drive to Indiana felt longer than usual. My mother greeted me with her usual hug and immediately asked about Mark. "He sounds wonderful," she said, serving pie. My brother joined in, eyes kind but probing. "You've seemed different on our calls, Nat. Like something's weighing on you." I deflected with work stories, but after dinner my mother cornered me in the kitchen. "Honey, if there's anything troubling your spirit, you can tell me. God's design is clear for a reason. It protects us." Her words, spoken from love, landed like stones. I wanted to tell her everything, but the fear of disappointing her, of disappointing God, sealed my mouth. Back in Chicago I tried harder with Mark. We went to church together, held hands during prayer. He was gentle, respectful. On paper he was perfect. Yet every time he kissed my cheek goodnight, I felt nothing but polite warmth. The contrast with the memory of Lauren's simple smile made me feel sick. I finally returned to the gym the first week of December, hoping Lauren had moved on. She was there, professional as ever, but her eyes held a quiet sadness when she saw me. "Good to see you back," she said simply. We worked out in silence mostly. Afterward she didn't suggest smoothies. The distance hurt more than I expected. That night I called my brother. "What if someone you care about challenges everything you believe?" I asked vaguely. He answered carefully. "Scripture is our compass, Nat. But compassion is part of it too. Just don't let confusion lead you away from truth." His certainty both comforted and frustrated me. Lauren texted the next day. "I miss our talks. No pressure, just checking in." I stared at the message until the screen went black. Part of me wanted to reply, to explain the war inside me, faith versus this new terrifying pull. Instead I went to evening service and listened to a sermon on resisting temptation. The pastor spoke of love as sacrifice, of choosing obedience even when it hurt. I left feeling raw. Christmas lights went up across the city. Mark invited me to his family's holiday party. I said yes, desperate for normalcy. But sitting among his relatives, watching them laugh and pray together, I felt like an imposter. My phone buzzed. "Lauren. Merry Christmas, Natalia. Hope you're well." I excused myself to the bathroom and cried quietly. The next day I met Lauren at a neutral coffee shop near the gym. "I'm sorry I ran," I said. She nodded. "I get it. Your faith is important to you. I would never ask you to change that." We talked for 2 hours about her childhood, my small-town upbringing, the fear of losing family. No one raised their voice. No one was the villain. When we parted, she hugged me briefly. "Whatever you decide, I respect it." That hug stayed with me for days. Mark sensed something was off and gently asked if I was happy. I couldn't answer honestly. My mother called again, voice bright. "Your brother's planning a big announcement at the reunion. We're praying you'll bring Mark." The pressure settled on my chest like concrete. I realized then that every choice I made would wound someone, including myself. Winter deepened, and the arguments inside me grew louder. I kept seeing Mark, attending extra Bible studies, volunteering at the church food pantry. On the surface everything looked right. But Lauren's presence at the gym was impossible to avoid. We spoke politely during workouts, yet the air between us crackled. One bitterly cold January evening she found me in the locker room after I'd skipped our usual cool down. "You don't have to disappear every time I walk in," she said softly. "I'm not the enemy here." I snapped without meaning to. "You think this is easy? My whole life is built on what I believe. My family would be devastated. The Bible is clear." Lauren didn't flinch. "I know what the verses say, Natalia. I've read them too, through tears, through prayer, through years of my own struggle. But I also know what it feels like to live a lie, and it almost killed me. I'm not asking you to reject your faith. I'm asking if there's room in it for honesty about who you are." Her words landed like a challenge and a lifeline at once. We sat on the cold bench and talked for an hour, really talked. She shared stories of friends who'd been rejected by their churches, of the pain that caused. I countered with my mother's quiet faith, the way it had carried our family through my father's illness years ago. Neither of us claimed victory. We simply listened. When I finally stood to leave, she said, "I still love you. That hasn't changed. But I won't chase you." The next weekend, Mark proposed a weekend getaway to a Christian conference. I agreed, hoping distance would help. During a session on biblical marriage, the speaker quoted the same verses I'd clung to. My phone vibrated. Lauren sending a photo of fresh snow on the lake with the caption, "Thinking of you." I stepped outside into the freezing wind and cried. That night I called my mother and told her I was seeing someone special. She rejoiced until I added, "It's a woman." Silence stretched so long I thought the call dropped. When she spoke, her voice trembled. "Natalia, we love you. But this isn't God's plan. We're praying for you." The pain in her tone cut deeper than any sermon. I broke things off with Mark the next day. He was gracious, hurt but kind. "I hope you find peace," he said. Returning to Chicago, I went straight to Lauren's apartment unannounced. She opened the door in sweats, surprised. "I'm terrified," I admitted on her doorstep. "But I'm more terrified of never knowing what this could be." She pulled me inside, not for drama or passion, but for quiet conversation that lasted until sunrise. We talked about boundaries, about my faith remaining central, about taking everything slow. No ultimatums. Just two people trying to be honest. My brother called the following week. "Mom told me, 'I'm not angry, Nat, but I'm scared for your soul. Come home. Let's talk it through with the pastor.' I went. The conversation was raw, tears, scripture, hugs. My family wasn't cruel. They were heartbroken, convinced they were saving me. I left feeling torn in half. Back in the city, I met Lauren at our usual coffee spot. "I'm choosing to explore this," I told her. "But I need you to understand I might lose pieces of my life." She took my hand across the table. "I know. And I'll walk beside you, not ahead of you." Spring arrived with tentative green buds and even more tentative hope. Lauren and I began seeing each other quietly. Walks along the lake. Dinners where we talked for hours about everything and nothing. I still attended church, still prayed, still wrestled daily with the tension between the love growing in my heart and the faith that had defined me. Some Sundays the sermons stung. Others felt like gentle reminders that grace was wider than I'd been taught. Lauren never pressured me to choose. She simply showed up, steady and patient. The real test came in May when my family drove up for a surprise visit. My mother hugged me tightly at the door, eyes searching. When Lauren arrived for the dinner I'd nervously planned, the room went still. Introductions were polite, strained. Over pot roast my brother asked careful questions about Lauren's job, her background. No raised voices, but the undercurrent was clear. Love wrapped in worry. Later my mother pulled me into the kitchen. "We're not rejecting you, Natalia. We're afraid for you. This path, it goes against everything we've taught." I answered as honestly as I could. "I know the cost, Mom. But denying who I am has cost me too. My peace, my joy. I'm taking responsibility for that." She cried. I cried. We held each other, neither fully understanding the other, both refusing to let go completely. My brother hugged Lauren goodbye with genuine warmth mixed with sadness. "Take care of my sister," he said. As they drove away, I stood on the sidewalk feeling the weight of what I'd chosen. I had lost the easy approval, the unquestioned belonging. Phone calls home grew shorter, visits more careful. Some church friends drifted away. The pain was real and sharp. Yet waking up beside Lauren, her arm draped lightly over me, morning light soft on her face, brought a peace I'd never known. Not perfect, not without fear, but authentic. One quiet evening on the lakefront, we watched the city lights reflect on the water. Lauren squeezed my hand. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm learning that love and faith don't have to cancel each other out. They just look different than I expected." She smiled, and in that moment the years of confusion, the arguments, the losses felt worth it. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped running from myself. So was I wrong to follow my heart and accept the love that felt so real, even if it meant losing parts of my family and community? Or was holding on to tradition the only way to stay true to myself?